Hello everyone and welcome back for another Miss Ink Stamps video. This is Cassie. Today we're going to be working with this brand new stencil. This is the Artsy Abstracts and I gotta tell ya, I'm kind of in love with it. I just feel like the possibilities with a stencil like this are phenomenal. And I'm going to show you an easy way to make a very quick card just using the stencil and then just coming in with a sentiment stamp. So I have a piece of craft cardstock that I'm going to tack down to my Tonic platform using a little bit of mint tape. And then I'm going to pull in that first stencil that has the biggest abstracts on it, just to make sure that I don't go beyond the stencil too much or at all. I'm going to put down a little bit of mint tape just to mask off some of those areas. And then we're going to bring in some oxides. So I've got some Saltwater Taffy Distress Oxide, and I'm going to blend that over this piece right here, or this part of the stencil. And I love how the oxides give this little chalky look, and they sit on top of each other really nicely. So that's why I chose oxides for this part of the blending. So I'll pull that away. You can see what I got going on there. I'll bring in the next stencil, and I also have a kitty on my lap who is obsessed with the mint tape. The next Distress Oxide color I'm bringing in is Prize Ribbon, so then I'll blend that over the top. And then we'll pull that away, and you can see how nicely those oxides just sit on top of each other. And then I'm going to bring in the third stencil. There's 4 total. I'll bring in that third stencil with all those really cool, like just neat little, I don't know what you want to call them, abstract whatever, to add interest or whatnot. And I'm going to bring in black soot, but I'm not having the Distress Oxide. I have found that the Distress Oxide looks a little bit more like a very dark gray, and I wanted this to be a black. So I'm just blending that over the top, and now we've got kitty number 2, Miles, has decided to come in. It never fails whenever I'm doing something messy. Both of these boys have to be in there. I want to put another little area, or blend another little area on there, so I'm just tacking it down again. And then once again with our Distress ink, that black soot, we'll just blend that over that last piece. And then I'll pull that away. You can see what we have so far. Then you really kind of get the idea of how far you can take this stencil. I'll bring in that final stencil, which is this leaf, or it's got 3 different leaves on it. And I'm just going to tack this down. And I've decided I want to bring in a Nuvo Embellishment Mousse. And this is going to be the color SEASPRAY Green. This will not only sit very nicely on top of all of those colors, but it will also give a little bit of texture. So obviously I had to give a little kitty kisses on the head, and then we'll bring in our mousse. But yeah, they're very interested in the magnets and the tape. So we'll get them out of here very shortly, mostly because I don't want them out while I'm actually messing with something that won't be dry right away. But here it is. And this is one, just to give you a tip, this is one that was very, very dry not that long ago. And I brought it back to life by just slowly adding some distilled water. So if you just put a little bit in, try and stir it around, let it absorb in, you can bring your mousses back to life, which is what I did with this one, because like I was saying, it was pretty dry. And then I did bring in the press and seal. I kept that foil seal there, press and seal, and then make sure my lid's on nice and tight. And then I'll go clean up my mess here. But you'll see, I mean, it was so simple and quick if you take the cats out of the picture. It was so simple and quick to make this that I love how this turned out. You could crank out a bunch of cards. I want to bring in some gold, so I have some gold paint there, and I'm going to splatter that all over my background. My leaf isn't dry yet, so it's going to kind of spread in there, but I love that. I think it looks nice. You'll notice that I did go beyond the stencil a little bit with that SEASPRAY green at the top, but I'm going to use a eraser, like a little sand eraser, mono sand eraser, to get rid of that. And then there you have it. So now I need to dry this, and I'm just going to bring in my heat tool and dry all the paint and dry that Nuvo mousse, and then I can come in with my sentiment. Now I stamped this down just right onto our panel, and sometimes that makes you nervous, but you know, if it doesn't work out, you can always cover it, which is what I'm going to do. I don't really love that. I feel like it gets lost there. So I'm going to bring in some sentiment stock, and I'm going to stamp the sentiment that says birthday wishes. That comes from our everyday sentiments I'll stamp that on there with some juicy embossing ink and then cover that with some gilded embossing powder. It doesn't look like much now, but once we start heating that and it changes, it looks great. And it's going to bring in the gold elements that I splattered all over the background as well. I'll trim this down using my guillotine trimmer. And then I do decide once I get it on my panel that I want to trim down the one edge. So I'm just going to cut it at an angle with my scissors. And then I'll get my card base ready, which is some more of that craft cardstock. It was 5.5 inches by 8.5 inches, scored at 4 1/4. And then we can just use our, originally I was going to do liquid glue, but it is a little warped since I used the Nuvo mousse. So I'm going to bring in some 1/8 inch score tape and just put that all over my base. Peel off all that release paper, and then I can stick down my panel to the front of that. This way it'll get rid of that warping and just make sure that it's nice and adhered to the front of that. But for my sentiment, I'm going to tack that down with some liquid glue right over the top of our previous sentiment. And I'll use my glass mat to kind of line that up. But once that's on there, that's done. That is it. And I love how that turned out. So there you have it. That's the brand new Artsy Abstract Stencil. If you liked this video, be sure to hit that like button and definitely consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. Thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you very soon in another video. Bye, everyone.